How's it going, my peeps? It is time for the Raw results slash review video. I'm going to talk about the Raw results and give you guys my thoughts on the show. I know last week I didn't post up a Raw results, but that's simply because I didn't watch the show. So anyways, this show starts off with a video package showing the steel cage match last week, and then we kick off with the show. Michael Cole shows us, I guess, a fight that broke down before the actual show, and they show CM Punk and Jerry the King Lawler fighting backstage. And CM Punk kicks Jerry the King Lawler, which knocks him out. And then, Sheamus comes out. And, keep in mind, they're in Chicago. He gets a positive reaction from the crowd. He's about to talk about, Del Rio and his world title match, but then CM Punk interrupts him. He gets a freaking huge pop from the crowd, so it's a great crowd tonight. And they go back and forth. Well, actually, CM Punk just talks about Jerry the King Lawler and John Cena. And then Sheamus interrupts him, and when Sheamus interrupts him, then the crowd starts actually booing Sheamus, so they turn on Sheamus since, he is interrupting their hometown superstar CM Punk, and they start, cheering CM Punk. Eventually, AJ comes out, and she books a match between Del Rio and John Cena tonight, and Sheamus versus CM Punk in a Champions versus Champions match. And then after the commercial break, we get Randy versus Dolph Ziggler. It's a rematch from, Friday Night SmackDown. Seems like these guys have faced off so many times, and every single time they face off, Randy wins, so it's kind of like the new Christian Randy feud. But actually this time, Dolph Ziggler won the match with a roll-up. Randy rolled him up, and then he countered the roll-up into his own roll-up and won the match. And then The Miz came out on commentary. He's actually there to replace Jerry the King Lawler to commentate with Michael Cole. And then they show one of those anger management promos. And, the guy asks Daniel Bryan and Kane to show their collage or whatever. And Daniel Bryan shows this paper with a bunch of yes and no's written on it. And he says, I say no. I say yes, and the crowd chants yes. And then I say no, and they still chant yes. And I yell no louder, and then they scream yes. And then he tears up the paper and says he's sick of it. And then, he asks Kane to show his collage, and Kane shows this blank paper, and the guy tells him, is this how you feel inside? And Kane tells him, you want to see how I feel inside? And then he takes the paper and mashes it up, throws it in this garbage can, and then raises his arms up and, puts them down like he does, in his entrance. So fire comes out, from the trash can, just like it does in his entrance from the four corners of the ring. And then you see Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio backstage. They're supposed to have a tag team match, and they actually get a freaking huge pop when the crowd sees them, backstage on the screen. And after the commercial break, we get the actual match. It's Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara versus Tensai and Cody. Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio win after Rey Mysterio hits a 619, and Sin Cara follows that up with a swanton on Cody for the victory. And then backstage, well, not backstage, but on the screen you see some more anger management segments, and this one was pretty cool. Obviously it involved Daniel Bryan Kane. They do the whole trust thing where he tells Daniel Bryan to fall backwards and tells Kane to catch him. It's all about trust, blah blah blah. Daniel Bryan hesitates and says no at first, but then he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So he falls backward, and Kane actually catches him, and then they tell Harold, Scorpio Sky in TNA, or I guess he's no longer in TNA, but yeah, they tell Harold to do the same thing, and this time Daniel Bryan and Kane, both of them will catch him. So he hesitates a bit too, but then eventually he says okay, he falls backwards, but neither Kane or Daniel Bryan catch him. Daniel Bryan tells Kane, did you know I wasn't going to catch him? And Kane tells him, did you know I wasn't going to catch him? And then Daniel Bryan tells him, you know what, Kane, now I understand you. So, hey, maybe we're going to get a Daniel Bryan and Kane tag team. I actually look forward to that. That's an original idea, and I'd like to see where that goes. And if that does indeed happen, then it looks like, Daniel Bryan could be turning face now. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens here with them. And then after that, Actually in the match, you know, the tag team match, Cole said that the next match up next is CM Punk versus Sheamus. And I was like, you know, what the hell? This is a champions versus champion match. This should be the main event. So anyways, Sheamus comes out for the match, and then CM Punk comes out. He talks about his hometown fans, talks about them respecting him and respecting his decisions and stuff like that. And then he says it's Labor Day, so a lot of the guys from the crowd took, you know, a day off from work, and that just like them, he's also taking this day off work. And then he just leaves the ring and decides not to do the match. You know, he came out, by the way, in street clothes, not in ring clothes. So, you know, right off the bat, it looked like he wasn't gonna do the match, and the crowd starts booing him. They turn on him, I guess, or he turned on them, and yeah, they start booing him. And Sheamus, you know, he gets on the microphone and says, "How could you do this? You know, the fans wanted to see this, blah, blah, blah." And this was actually a good way, you know, I gotta give them a thumbs up here. This was a good way of getting the crowd to cheer Sheamus for, you know, standing up for the fans and get them to boo CM Punk. So that was a good way of doing that. And then we see CM Punk backstage. He's about to leave. AJ says he can't leave. CM Punk says, "Look at my contract. I've got personal days, and today is one of them." So he leaves, and then Matt Striker comes up to AJ, asks her, you know, what she's gonna do about that. And she tells him, "Who are you?" twice. And Matt Striker doesn't know what to say. I don't know why he just didn't say his name. And then she tells Matt Striker to tell Sheamus to stay in the ring because she's gonna find him an opponent. And then after the commercial break, it's Sheamus versus Jack Swagger. So Jack Swagger is his new opponent now. And it's a pretty quick match. Sheamus actually wins with the Texas Cloverleaf. And after he wins the match, Del Rio attacks him with Ricardo. But Sheamus gets the advantage, hits White Noise. He's about to hit the bro kick. But Ricardo pushes Del Rio out of the way and gets in the way himself. So he gets hit with the bro kick. And then we got a Divas match. Eve versus Kaitlyn one-on-one. On commentary, Layla comes out. So you've got Layla and The Miz both on commentary, and they go back and forth during commentary. The Miz actually tells Layla, Eve is a 10, you're a 2. So, you know, they bash each other for a while, especially The Miz. He bashes Layla. Eve wins the match, actually, and after the match, she shakes Kaitlyn's hand and acts, you know, as if she's her friend. And then she goes on commentary, or, you know, where Layla's at, and shakes Layla's hand. And that's it, you know, for that segment. And then right after, you've got Jack Swagger backstage and looks like he's leaving the arena. AJ tells him he can't leave, you know, everybody left her. CM Punk left, Brock Lesnar left, blah, blah, blah. Jack Swagger says he wants to take extended time off because he doesn't know what happened to him, but, you know, he keeps losing these matches. So he ends up leaving anyways. And then you get the final anger management class video where the teacher says everybody passes and he's happy about Kane and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan tells Kane that he'd be happy to give him a rematch from SummerSlam at any time. And then Kane tells him thank you. And that the next time they face off, he's going to try, you know, and not to eviscerate him or whatever. And then Daniel Bryan says, that's assuming you can eviscerate me, you know, since I can make you tap out, blah, blah, blah. They start arguing again. And then the teacher just gets mad at, you know, both guys and starts raging and just leaves. And that's it for that segment. And then you get the Raw active part of the show where they ask you to vote on whether you'd like to see Kane and Daniel Bryan face off tonight, or team up in a tag team match, or hug it out. You can vote on Twitter. I personally voted for tag match, and then I decided to actually vote for hug it out because, you know, if they do hug it out, then I'm assuming they, you know, team up later on in the future. So then, you know, after that, you get Matt Striker backstage. He knocks on the trainer room to get an update on Ricardo. And Del Rio comes out with David Otunga. David Otunga says he doesn't want to speak at this time or something like that because Del Rio's his client, blah, blah, blah. And then you get Ryback versus Jinder Mahal. Quick match. Ryback wins the match, and he actually came out with a new t-shirt, so Ryback has a t-shirt now. And then Matt Striker backstage is with AJ. He knocks on her door. He tells her things are falling apart and what she plans to do about it. And she says to go tell John Cena and Del Rio that their match is now Falls Count Anywhere. And then you get the actual Kane and Daniel Bryan thing, you know, and they announce that actually hug it out, won the polls, won the votes. The second was the tag team match, and then, you know, the singles match between the two. They saw a lot. You had Daniel Bryan yelling, "No, no, no." You had them like kind of chest bumping at first, and then Daniel Bryan hugging Kane, but Kane not hugging back. But then eventually they, you know, did a proper hug. Afterwards, Daniel Bryan kind of tapped Kane on the shoulder, and Kane tapped him back on the shoulder, but a bit too hard. So then Daniel Bryan, you know, retaliates back with another tap on the shoulder, but, you know, stronger. And then Kane does the same, and then they start pushing each other, and then they start fighting. Eventually, Kane hits a choke slam on Daniel Bryan, and then he, you know, has this steel chair. He puts Daniel Bryan's neck, I guess, or head in between the chair, and goes on the top rope. You know, assuming he wants to jump on the chair to inflict some damage on Daniel Bryan's neck. But then the referees come and, I guess, break it up while Kane is still on the top rope, on the top turnbuckle. So Daniel Bryan gets time to get up and then hit Kane with the steel chair and get out of the ring. After that, we get a rematch for the United States Championship, Antonio versus Santino. Very quick match. Antonio wins the match with his finisher. And then after that match, we get Zack Ryder versus Heath Slater. That's also a pretty quick match. Not as quick as the last match between Antonio versus Santino. But Zack Ryder actually wins the match with the Rough Rider. And after the match, Vicky Guerrero comes out right after, and she says, you know, she's got some issues with AJ that she wants to address, and that she's not leaving this ring until AJ comes out. So she asks for a chair and just sits in the ring as they go to commercial break. And then after the break, AJ comes out. She says that the board of directors told her actions weren't appropriate as GM, and that she can't lay her hands on talent, superstars, and divas. And then she apologizes to the crowds, and then Vicky demands an apology to her, you know, to apologize to actually Vicky Guerrero and not the crowd. So AJ says sorry, and then Vicky tells her to apologize once again and say it like she means it. So AJ apologizes once again to Vicky, and then Vicky slaps AJ. AJ looks like she's about to hit Vicky, but, you know, she can't, so she doesn't. She holds herself back, and Vicky laughs and then realizes that, hey, I can hit her once again, and she can't hit me. So she slaps her once again, and then, you know, starts laughing and just leaves the ring. And then AJ starts raging and hitting the ring with the steel chair and stuff like that, which doesn't make too much sense because when you think about it, you know, AJ's the GM, so she could just fire Vicky if she's, you know, so pissed at her, but whatever. And then finally we have the main event, John Cena versus Del Rio. John Cena comes out first to a freaking huge reaction. Lots of boos, lots and lots of boos. You do hear a little bit of cheers, but it's mostly boos. So he comes out, you know, to this huge reaction, and then Del Rio comes out to like almost no reaction. And this crowd, this was actually a good crowd, you know, the crowd would cheer and boo. They were loud, but Del Rio got like no reaction. It's like nobody gave a fuck about Del Rio. So yeah, he comes out to this, you know, mediocre reaction. I don't even know if it was boos or cheers because you can hear anything. I don't know. And then as usual, John Cena throws his shirt in the crowd so somebody catches it, and you can see him looking at the crowd to see if they were gonna throw the shirt back at him, like at One Night Stand. And you can actually hear him saying, I thought they were gonna throw it back. But anyways, the match itself was freaking awesome. Awesome false count anywhere match. They went everywhere. They fought, you know, inside the ring, outside the ring. They went backstage, interview area, and all that stuff. Del Rio, at some point in the match, grabbed the microphone, was bashing John Cena, saying he was beneath him. And then John Cena countered. Del Rio said he was going to break his arm now, and then put the arm breaker. Cena countered that into the STF. Del Rio got out of that by hitting him with the microphone a couple times. Then when they got backstage, Cena hits the the AA, sometimes I forget. Anyways, he hits the AA on Del Rio. And after he hits it, CM Punk comes back and kicks John Cena in the head. John Cena's knocked out. CM Punk grabs Del Rio and puts him on top of John Cena, so the referee counts 1, 2, 3. Del Rio wins the match. And after he wins the match, CM Punk grabs John Cena in the GTS position and hits the GTS where John Cena's face lands on the car he left in, when he left the show early on. And afterwards, he opens, the door of the car and pulls out the championship and flaunts it. And then he gets inside the car, and the car starts, rolling and leaving. And then who pops up, on the driver's seat? Who's driving? It's Paul Heyman. So that ends the show. You see Paul Heyman driving CM Punk. So that was a freaking cool ending. And it makes me wonder, are we gonna see CM Punk teaming up with Brock Lesnar versus John Cena and The Rock at some point? I don't know, but definitely an interesting ending. So as far as my rating for Raw, the ending of the show really made it for me. I'd give this show maybe an 8 on 10, 7.5 on 10. I don't know, but the ending was really good. Highlight of the show, the ending of the show, and every single one of the Kane and Daniel Bryan segments. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this result/highlight/review, whatever you want to call it, video. And if you did, you can always click the like button. And I'm out. See ya.